At 0247 local time, 4 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, call signs Petro 41 through 44, were pushing into Iranian airspace from 3 different vectors. Their mission: destroy Iranian ballistic missile storage sites buried in deep underground caves throughout the country. The Iranians thought their missiles were safe, but little did they know, they were about to get a taste of the Freedom Dorito. Petro 41 and 44 were 90 miles southeast of Tabriz North Missile Base, and the mission commanders are deep in the drop. The complex they're about to hit has some Bond villain-level engineering, with 8 cave entrances and 6 vertical shafts that allow the Iranians to fire straight upwards. Even if entombed in the cave, the math is brutal. They have to figure out bearing, speed, time, wind direction, and a half dozen other variables to find that one point in space where they need to release their payloads. And right in the middle of this calculation, their radios squawk with a problem. This is Viper 1, 2 contacts, bearing 045, climbing through Angels 20, looks like fulcrums. 2 MiG-29s scrambling out of Tabriz Air Base, which sits barely 15 miles from the missile complex Petro 41 and 44 are about to seal shut. The B-2 crews absorb this in silence. Radio transmissions can be detected, geolocated, exploited. Silence is doctrine, but silence doesn't mean calm. Here's the problem. A B-2 in a fight with a MiG-29 is like a billionaire in a tuxedo stuck in a dark alley, with a fortune, completely unarmed, and surviving entirely on the hope that nobody notices it. Iranian ground radars searching for a Spirit might as well be looking for a specific grain of sand on a beach at night. But a MiG-29 has an infrared search and track sensor called IRST, and it doesn't care about radar cross-sections. It looks for heat, and 4 General Electric F-118 engines pushing a 150-ton aircraft through thin air are not coal. If those MiGs get within 30 miles, they might pick up the thermal signature. Might is not a word B-2 pilots enjoy. That's why they brought friends. The 2 F-22s, call sign Viper 1 and Viper 2, pushed to military power and turned toward the contacts. Viper 1's APG-77 radar locks both MiGs from 60 miles. At that distance, the Iranians see nothing on their Zuk-ME radars, specially delivered by Russia last year for exactly this purpose. Inside Petro 41 and 44, the mission commanders watch the escort peel away on the tactical display. 2 triangles pulling northeast, 2 red triangles climbing southeast. Geometry they cannot control. What they can control is the bomb run. And right now, the timeline says 70 miles to release. 12 minutes. They need those MiGs gone before they get there, because open bomb bay doors multiplied the V-2's radar cross-section by a factor of 100. At 12 miles out, any Iranian radar, airborne or ground-based, that happens to be looking in the right direction gets an early Christmas present. The mission commanders keep working. Aperture coordinates confirmed. Tunnel entrance sequence is locked. They cannot afford to look up. Outside, the F-22s are closing the geometry. At 50 miles, Viper 1 goes active. Deliberately, he wants the MiGs to know someone is here. Radar warning receivers light up in both Iranian cockpits, 2 separate locks. The lead MiG does the smart thing, banks hard left and descends, dragging toward the mountain ridgeline where terrain clutter muddies the picture. His wingman follows. They're not running, they're maneuvering, using the valleys northwest of Tabriz to break lock and reposition. This is the scenario nobody wanted. Running MiGs are a solved problem. Let them go. Fighting MiGs in open sky are a solved problem. Shoot them down. MiGs that hide in terrain clutter and probe back toward the corridor every few minutes. That's a cat and mouse game that burns time Petro 41 doesn't have. Viper 1, tally lost. Terrain mask it. Bearing last 030. 9 minutes to release. The mission commanders work the bomb run checklist in silence while 2 red contacts flicker in and out of the clutter on the tactical display. Viper 2 picks up the wingman first. Brief infrared bloom as the MiG's engines reheat coming out of a valley turn. Bearing 025, 15 miles, climbing. He's making another push toward the corridor. Viper 2, contact, single fulcrum, northeast, climbing through Angels 15, engaged. The Raptor pilot rolls in and takes the shot. AMRAAM screams off the rail, accelerating to Mach 4, seeker locked. At 15 miles, this should be a formality, but the MiG pilot sees the launch warning and does the one thing that can save it. rolls inverted and dives straight into a canyon. The valley walls swallow it. The AMRAAM Seeker loses the returning ground clutter, and a missile that costs more than people's houses meets a mountainside instead of a MiG. They're not out flying the Raptors, they're outrunning the geometry, using terrain they've trained in for years to deny clean shots. Every time a MiG pops above the ridgeline, the F-22s have seconds before it disappears again. Not enough time for a missile to close the distance before the target drops behind granite. It was the deadliest game of whack-a-mole ever played, except the moles were doing Mach 1.5 and the hammer cost $1 million a swing. 6 minutes to release. Petro 4-1 and 4-4 are locked on course. The pilots haven't touched the controls in 4 minutes. The autopilot holds heading and altitude with inhuman precision, while the crew manages everything else. The mission commanders track 3 conversations at once: the bomb drop checklist, the F-22s hunting in the mountains, and the AWACS speed tracking the second MiG somewhere in the valleys below. Viper 1 finds the lead MiG. He circled south and is pushing back towards Tabriz at low altitude. Heading unclear. Could be running for the base. Could be swinging wide for another push at the corridor. Either way, he's below the ridgeline and Viper 1 can't hold him long enough to shoot. 4 minutes. The mission commander announces the final sequence. Bomb bay doors will open in 90 seconds. 10 seconds of maximum exposure. Everything in this aircraft, stealth coatings, curved surfaces, radar absorbent structure, exists to keep the cross-section at marble size. Open doors turn that marble into a barn. Viper 2, fulcrum nosing over, descending back into the terrain. The wingman broke off his second push, dove back into the valleys. Viper 2 tracks the infrared bloom fading behind a ridgeline. He's still out there, so is the lead. 2 MiGs playing hide-and-seek in mountains they know better than anyone, too fast to ignore, too deep in the clutter to finish off. 2 minutes. The mission commander makes the call. The MiGs are below and behind. GERD geometry puts them outside 30 minutes. IRST detection at that range, through terrain, against a B-2 at 42,000 feet. Unlikely. Not impossible. Unlikely. The word B-2 crews hate. He clues the formation to proceed. At 02:59, bomb bay doors open. Rotary launchers spin up. GPS acquisition confirmed on all weapons. Somewhere in the mountains below, 2 MiG-29 pilots are still hunting for a target they can't see. They never will find it. But for 10 seconds, if either one happened to pop above a ridge line with his IRST pointed at exactly the right patch of sky, the B-2s are exposed. GBU-31s fall into the Iranian night. Each tail kit deploys 4 fins adjusting 10 times per second, steering 2,000 pounds of hardened steel toward individual aim points spread across half a mile of mountain. Bomb bay doors close, the marble returns. The first 3 hit the eastern tunnel entrance at terminal velocity. 2,000 pounds of penetrator meets reinforced concrete. The entrance doesn't crack, it folds. Rock cascades down the mountain face, sealing the opening under hundreds of tons of debris. The pattern repeats across the complex, 3 on each entrance. The ceiling hatches, designed to open upward against gravity, instead collapse downward into the launch bays as the penetrators punch through, then detonate inside. Petro 4-1 and 4-4 turn west, 14 hours of flight left. At $170,000 per flight hour, the trip home alone would cost more than a college education. Behind the aircraft, the mountain is still settling. And somewhere in the valleys below Tabriz, 2 MiG-29 pilots are circling over a target that no longer exists. 600 miles south, Petro 4-2 just blew into a situation that stealth alone could not fix. Petro 4-2 is 8 minutes from release when 2 problems arrive at the same time. The first one is trying to get the crew destroyed. The second one is trying to help. After Israel dismantled Iran's Russian-supplied S-300 batteries last year, Iranian engineers built a domestic replacement under sanctions, mobile phased array radar, roughly 150-kilometer engagement range. The IDF would later designate it as the SA-65. Not as capable as the S-300, but capable enough to ruin a B-2 crew's night. This battery has been hiding in the mountains south of Isfahan for 3 hours, waiting for a target worth the exposure. At 03:11, its radar locks onto Petro 4-2. The battery commander has committed. He's going for the shot. The Growler in Petro 42's escort catches the emission instantly. The ALQ-249 next-generation jammer bloods the tracking frequency with enough radiated power to turn the SA-65 display into electronic noise. An F-35 that has been passively cataloging that exact emission source for 90 minutes passes grid coordinates via Link 16 to a Growler orbiting 40 miles west. The Growler rolls in, AGM-88 harm off the pylon, its integrated ramjet accelerating, Mach 4 and climbing. 60 seconds. That's how long the SA-65 battery has to live. But 60 seconds is also how long it takes for a missile to reach firing solution against a target at Petro 42's altitude. The race is on. Harm versus SAM, and the B-2 is the finish line for both. 7 minutes to release. The mission commander is working 16 aim points across 2 cave complexes southwest and northwest of Isfahan. 3 bombs per tunnel entrance. Same math as Tabriz, minus the ceiling apertures. Should be simpler. Should be is a relative term here. That's when the KAOX controller voice cuts through the frequency with a tone that has no business being in a routine deconfliction call. Petro 42, stand by. Airspace conflict, Corridor 2. Multiple friendlies crossing the coordination line. The corridor into Isfahan was choreographed to the second. Every aircraft in a box, every box separated by altitude and geography. Then 4 TEL transporter erector launchers rolled out of a cave entrance 18 miles east of Isfahan. Shahab 3 variants heading for dispersal sites. An Israeli Adir flight picked up the convoy on infrared. 4 missiles that would be pointed at Israeli cities inside the hour. The Israeli flight lead didn't ask permission. He broke east across the coordination line with his wingman, both jets pulling toward the convoy with GBU-39 small-diameter bombs on the rails. The TELs were moving. Waiting for clearance meant losing them in the mountain passes. Say what you want about coalition coordination. When someone rolls Shahab 3s toward Tel Aviv, the Israelis don't form a committee. They form a strike package. Now the mission commander inside Petro 42 is managing a bomb run while 2 separate crises unfold outside the aircraft. South, the AGM-88 is 40 seconds from impact, but the SA-65 is still tracking. Its operators have it turned off the radar. Either they don't know the harm is coming, or they've decided the shot at a B-2 is worth their faces ending up on a t-shirt. The Growler is pumping jamming power into the tracking frequency, degrading the missile solution, buying seconds. But jamming degrades. It doesn't guarantee. If the SA-65 gets a clean enough track through the noise to launch before the harm arrives, a surface-to-air missile will be in the air with Petro 42's name on it. East, 2 Israeli stealth fighters are now inside Petro 42's corridor, converging on the same block of airspace from below. Aircraft that cannot see each other on radar because that's literally the point of their design. 3 invisible jets converging on the same patch of sky is the military aviation equivalent of 3 blindfolded people running in a parking lot. Petro 42 at 42,000 heading east. The Adirs at 25,000 climbing southeast. Vertical separation real but shrinking. 5 minutes to release. The mission commander has 16 bombs programmed to 16 aim points, and he can feel both problems pressing in from opposite sides. The KAOK at Al-Udeid attacks the deconfliction first. Push Petro 42's release point 3 miles north to open lateral separation from the Israeli jets. That means reprogramming GPS coordinates on 16 weapons while closing on the target at 8 miles a minute. The mission commander is already moving, fingers across the targeting display, updating aim points one by one. He's done this in simulation nearly 100 times, never while a SAM battery is actively trying to shoot his aircraft though. Venom, status on the SA-65. The F-35 flight lead responds. The harm is 20 seconds out. The SA-65 is still radiating, still tracking. The jamming is holding its missile solution below launch threshold. Probably. Nobody on this frequency wants to bet a B-2 on probably. 3 minutes to release. The Israeli Adirs reach the convoy. The lead jet rolls in and pickles a GBU-39 on the first TEL. 250 pounds, diamond-shaped wings, GPS-guided. It glides 60 miles and hits the truck chassis. The Shahab 3's propellant tank ruptures. Secondary fireball whites out the infrared for 2 full seconds. The wingman is already lining up the second truck. South of Isfahan, the harm arrives. The AGM-88G's millimeter wave seeker doesn't care that the SA-65 operator finally switched off his radar 3 seconds ago. What the SA-65 operator didn't know is that the AGM-88G has a memory like a grudge. Even with the radar off, GPS and inertial navigation guide the warhead to the exact spot the antenna was radiating from 30 seconds ago. The warhead detonates, and a year of Iranian engineering under sanctions becomes a debris field in the mountains. A billion-dollar air defense program answered by a missile that the U.S. Navy orders the way most people order printer paper. 2 minutes to release. The mission commander has 12 of 16 aim points reprogrammed. His fingers haven't stopped moving since the chaos called the shift. The Israeli wingman hits the second tell. The remaining 2 trucks scatter into separate mountain passes. They'll be somebody else's problem in an hour. Both the Deers break south, back across the coordination line. Petro 4-2, Corridor 2 open, cleared hot. 60 seconds. The mission commander finishes the last 4 aim points. He confirms the sequence, all 16 tracking to adjusted coordinates. At 0317, bomb bay doors open. 16 GBU-31s fall toward 2 cave complexes southwest of northwest Isfahan. The mountain does what mountains do when you punch through their front doors with penetrator warheads, collapses inward, seals itself shut. 3 per entrance. Rock and reinforced concrete cascading down to entomb everything inside. Petro 4-2 turns for home. 300 miles southeast, Petro 4-3 is closing on a target the 2 other crews didn't have to deal with. A cave complex that isn't sitting quiet in the dark. This one is shooting. At 0322 local time, Petro 4-3's crew can hear the war unfolding on the radio. The AWACS control his voice as an edge that wasn't there 20 minutes ago. Clipped. Fast. The cadence of someone tracking things they wish they weren't. 300 miles southeast, inside a cave complex near Corgu, Iranian missile crews were feeding rounds into launch bays as fast as their automated loaders could cycle. What they didn't know was that a mission commander at 42,000 feet was counting their rhythm and planning to use it against them. Multiple ballistic launches, bearing 173. Source grid matches target package, Kilo 7. Kilo 7, that is Petro 4-3's target, a missile cave complex in the mountains near Corgu, and it is actively firing. Ballistic missiles arcing out of overhead apertures on trajectories aimed at coalition installations across the Gulf. Al-Udeid, Ali al-Salam, al-Dhafra, bases where Patriot and THAAD batteries are already running hot trying to intercept the inbound rounds. This facility is in the fight right now, feeding missiles into trajectories faster than the coalition's interceptor stocks can absorb them. Every minute it stays operational is another round arcing over the Gulf. The crew doesn't need a briefing on what that means. They need to shut this cave down. 16 GBU-31s, same loadout as the other 2 aircraft, but the targeting priorities flip completely. He watches the AWACS feed, another launch from Aperture 1. The clock starts. Mark on Aperture 1, 4 minutes. Petro 4-3 is 11 minutes from release point at current heading and altitude. He cannot catch this window, so he plans for the next one. Another missile will fire from that aperture in roughly 8 minutes. Reload plus launch sequence. After that launch, the bay empties again. That's his window. He was going to use Iran's own firing schedule as a weapons delivery timetable. The cave was essentially telling him when to knock. The pilot adjusts, slight throttle increase, 2 degrees of heading correction. The mission commander reprograms the attack sequence. Aperture strikes first, timed in the cave's own rhythm. Tunnel entrances last. At 0331, AWACS calls another launch from Corgu. The mission commander marks the time, starts the 4-minute countdown. Petro 4-3 cleared hot. Bomb bay doors open, maximum exposure. The pilot locks in, heading, altitude, airspeed, hands steady on the controls. The rotary launcher cycles, GPS confirmed on all 16. The first pair of GBU-31s drops toward Aperture 1, 90 seconds since the last launch. The bay below is empty, the next round still being pushed from the storage chamber toward the rail. The Blue 109 warheads punch through the overhead hatches and detonate inside the vacant bay. The blast crushes the automated loading mechanism, buckles the launch rail, and pancakes the inertial chamber ceiling. Nothing is firing from this bay again. 8 seconds later, the second pair hits Aperture 2. Same timing, same result. Both launch bays wreck between firing cycles. No controlled secondary, no scattered propellant. Clean hits on empty chambers. The remaining 12 GBU-31s walk across the tunnel entrances in groups of 3. Eastern entrance, western entrance, 2 service tunnels for ventilation and vehicle access. Each one folds under successive 2,000-pound impacts, rock and reinforced concrete cascading down to seal the opening shut. Corgu goes silent. The AWACS controller who's been calling launches for the last hour pauses, waits, scans. No more tracks on bearing 173. The cave that was feeding missiles into the fight 5 minutes ago just went permanently dark. Tonight, they found out why American roads have potholes. The money went somewhere else, to make bigger holes. If you enjoyed this video, watch our other video covering the first day of the war against Iran. Bye for now.